Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here, and welcome to another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show, where every single week we bring you a minimum of one or two amazing guests, like we scout out the whole entire country, thinking to ourselves who is going to create the most impact and give you the most tools, strategies, and insights on how you too can go out there and increase your production by 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 deals each and every single month by applying all that we share with you. Today, we bring you the amazing Mr. James Shelby. Welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show, brother.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, James, one of the things that I don't do very well is the introduction of my audience, because I believe that you know then I know you. So why don't you tell the world who you are, how awesome you are, and why they should pay attention today?
Wow. Well, my name is James Shelby. I'm from Temecula, California. That's where I live currently. My office is out of Murrieta, which is right next door to Temecula. And I've been in real estate now for going on 9 years. And yeah, I mean, this is what we do every single day. It's I have a small team of myself and one other agent and an assistant. And, we'll do about 70 deals this year.
So if you're doing less than 70 deals a year and you want to get to 70 deals a year, you better pay attention, because I am going to tap into that mind of James and extract all the golden nuggets for you. Walk us through a little bit through your journey, James. You got into business 9 years ago. Was this like real estate something that you've always wanted to do? Like, how did you end up in real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So initially, I started working full time when I was about 16, 17 years old, and I worked for a family business doing auto glass. Okay. So I didn't come from a family that was in real estate, never even knew what real estate agent was. And so I did the auto glass for like 12 years. And in the process of learning to buy my or starting to buy my first house. It was in about 2013-ish when the market was really bad. If you were in real estate at that time, you remember that was not a fun time for a lot of people, a lot of short sales. Right. And during the time, my agent, she kind of lived far from where I was at. I got referred by a friend, hey, use this agent. And she lived about an hour away from where I was looking to buy. And I was driving around doing my auto glass business, and I would be driving by homes that were almost brand new homes, but the grass was overgrown. It looked empty. And I would call her on these homes and say, hey, what about this home? I saw it was empty. And essentially these were, as we know now, these were homes that were going through the foreclosure process, right? So she would tell me, oh, that one's getting foreclosed on, that one's getting foreclosed on. But hey, I can get the number to the owner, and if you want to call them and see if they're willing to sell it, let's see if we can do what's called a short sale. I don't know anything about it. She's the one now that I know, she's the one that probably should be calling them. But she would get the numbers, and I would call the owner, and I'd be like, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. My agent said, you're going through a foreclosure. Would you be willing to do a short sale? And I didn't even know what those words meant, but I'm saying them, and eventually, she kind of said basically that, oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
All right, I lost you. Basically, she started saying, hey, you're pretty good at this. You might want to think about getting your license. And I actually didn't even end up buying one of those homes, but she ended up getting some listings out of them. And she said, you should, have you ever thought about, getting into real estate? And I'm like, no, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? And so she said, well, you get your license and you can help people buy and sell real estate. And you obviously aren't afraid to talk to people. So I'm like, yeah, I'll look into it. I didn't really think much. I was making what I thought was good money, for my age at the time. And so, I was like, yeah, I'll look into it. Right. So I didn't think much about it. I ended up, I think I had got into contract on a house, but it was taking so long. I ended up backing out, and I was a nightmare buyer, I'm sure. But eventually I got on Instagram. And this is kind of a weird thing, but I started following another guy who was an agent in my area. And not only he was an agent, but he was into like muscle cars and working out, but he also sold real estate. He was married, he had 2 daughters, and I kind of resonated with who this guy was. I could tell he was making good money. He seemed to enjoy his life. I have 2 daughters. I was into working out. I was into old cars. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey man, I see you're an agent. You know, I've thought about someone told me I should be an agent. And so that was kind of introductory to it. From there, I started taking my license, you know, courses. And then what really was the light bulb for me is I'm like, how do these people get paid? You know, I don't get it. You know, is this an hourly thing? So I just started looking up online and it's like, okay, you get a percentage of the sales price. So I started doing the math and I thought, oh my God, I only need to sell one house a month. That's easy, right? That should be easy. So from then I just kind of took off. I started doing my classes. I started listening to podcasts about real estate, YouTube, and eventually I got my license. And around the same time I got my license, I closed escrow on my house. So I had a full-time job. I had 2 kids, wife, mortgage, you know, all that. And so I really didn't get started on selling for a couple months, you know, because I had a lot going on at once. So that was a long introductory to real estate, kind of a long version.
That's a beautiful story. I love how your agent said, well, call them and see if...
Yeah, right.
I wish I could find more buyers that will go out there and get me listings, right?
Right, yeah. And I was ignorant enough because I had no idea how anything worked. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll give them a call, no problem. And I think she saw that I wasn't afraid to, you know, talk to people that I didn't know and ask them, you know, maybe that was part of the being naive, but, you know, ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, you know, and, you know, sometimes when you dive into that part of, you know, who you are, it's where you really discover your true powers. And, you know, as they say, you know, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. It was happening for you in that moment without you even knowing why. You're picking up the phone, and then here's a couple of years later, you're making, you know, a huge impact in the community and a huge income for your family by picking up the phone and making phone calls, talking to people.
You couldn't be more right. You're 100% right. And you know, as I look back and I kind of unpacked my life from, you know, the way I was raised to, you know, you know, we always look back on things and regret a lot of things. And not to say that never happens to me, but I also look back at a lot of things and think there's a lot of things about the way I was either brought up or the way my personality is. Or, you know, I was in a band at one time for a while when I was young. Like all these things kind of molded to put me where I am now. And I use a lot of the things that I learned from all these different experiences, good and bad, to shape my life the way it is now. So you're 100% right.
I love it. And James, I don't know what your first year was like, because, you know, you're making this huge transition and, you know, new house, new this, new that, new license. What was your first year of real estate like?
It was pretty slow, to be honest. You know, my first probably 5-6 months, I didn't really do anything. Like I said, I was kind of fixing up my home. I bought a short sale, so those are never pretty, right, for the most part. So I was kind of working, then I was working on my house, and you know, I didn't have a lot of spare money, so I couldn't just hire people, you know. Now we learn, right? Okay, well, if you've got the income, your time is better served somewhere else. But at the time, I had a much different mentality and not a lot of money. So it took me a little while. So my first year, first 6 months, I'd say I wasn't really doing much. But what I did start doing, I'd say about 6 months in, was I had been listening to podcasts over that time. And I knew I had to get going on something. I knew it was magically business wasn't going to come to me. So, yeah, a lot of people think that, right? You get your license and then people just call you. That wasn't the case. So I started door knocking after I would get off of work. So I would work my job, then I would go out and put on a suit and I would go door knock, because in podcasts, I had heard a lot of agents talking about door knocking. And so I started hitting the streets, and my very first deal, I'll never forget, I knocked on a door and they kind of cracked the door open and, hey, I don't even remember. I think all I said was, hey, my name is James Shelby. I'm with, X Real Estate. And have you thought about buying or selling a house? And they said, oh, no, not really. But they took my card. And so when I got home that night, they called me and they actually said, hey, you dropped off a card. We're renting, but we've been looking at buying. What do we do next? And I'm like, I'll find out. I said, I'm glad you called me. Let's get started. I'll call you back. And so I called, my broker or someone, and we ended up, helping them get pre-approved. And that was my first deal. And it's funny because normally you think if your first deal comes from door knocking, it's probably going to be a listing, right? Yeah. But no, my first deal was a buyer from door knocking. So the first year I might have sold, 2-3 homes. But that was one story that really stuck out. And that was kind of another light bulb that, hey, this does work, talking to people. I now need to talk to more.
Exactly. So talking about, do you still, like now, 9 years later, do you still door knock, or has your philosophy and methodology of lead generation has changed?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. That's a great question, because I don't know how much I want to jump forward. I'll tell you this, I started coaching probably a year and a half into, maybe 2 years into real estate with Mike Ferry. And a lot of people know who Mike Ferry is, kind of the godfather of real estate coaching. And so I give Mike and his organization a lot of credit, because my whole mentality shifted. I remember thinking initially, if I can make $100,000 a year, I'm set. I'm gonna be good. And when I went to my first Mike Ferry conference, you hear people up on stage and they're selling 100 homes a year, and they're making 500, 700, $1 million. And that was a light bulb that kind of went off. And I said, 100,000 is beautiful. That's going to be a great milestone. But these people are normal people. They're not celebrities. They're not some, super ultra gifted. They're just normal people. And if they could do it, I can do it. So that was the foundation for me. I coached with Mike for like 4 or 5 years. And as you know, or if people don't know, Mike Ferry is all about prospecting. So cold calling, door knocking, expired listings. And so I really built the foundation of my business there. And to answer your question, I would still call that kind of the foundation of my business. If you build a house, you have a strong foundation. I would still say that's a foundation. But throughout the years, I've noticed, especially with the growth of social media, Instagram and Facebook have been two huge sources of business. And I've really put a lot of emphasis on growing a brand through those. And I think between the prospecting, the sphere, the Facebook, Instagram, you kind of build this very strong network of sources of leads, and so
it's diversified for you. So you
yes.
Diversified your world in different ways of saying it, is like you're using some of the old school, basic, never going to go away strategies. That's how you build your business. You're not going to stop doing that. The world changed, you adapted to the change, and you took on the technology, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, and a couple of things in between. So if I were to guesstimate, I'd say you probably got about 5 or 6 different lead generation systems in place that are like your primary, move the needle forward kind of thing, right?
Yes. And I do think that, I probably have a few more than that, but the primary ones, you're right. Mike, if you follow Mike's system, Mike is a big proponent about.
Work for Mike.
What's that?
I said I used to work for Mike.
Oh, okay, so you know.
This language is like very familiar to me. Yeah.
So you know this better than anyone, but for those that don't know, Mike is very much about profitability. So Mike is more the type, and I learned this from Mike, that I would rather sell 50 homes and keep a large amount of my profit than a big team with 100 homes and that sells 100 homes, but they have to pay their agents, 2 assistants, Zillow, so on and so forth. And, they're making $1 million GCI, but after paying everyone, they're making maybe 150. But I'd rather
people like that.
I'd rather sell the 50 homes and keep, if I'm making 600 GCI and I'm keeping 475 of it, so that's always been my philosophy. I will say though, at some point, and this has come from me kind of exploring other philosophies through different coaches, you can definitely leverage your money on things that will help, bring in some additional income. It's just finding the right stuff that works, and I don't think that's the best place to start, because what I learned from the fundamentals is objection handling, prospecting. I mean, these are things that are fundamental keys to sales, that if you don't know those, you're going to have a hard time. Even if you do find a magic lead source, you're probably not going to close those leads because you don't know how to handle objections. You don't know what to say. You don't know, the different personality types. There's so many things that you will not know. You might fumble your way through it, but you're probably going to spend a lot of money or waste a lot of money.
So what you're saying, James, what you're saying is lead conversion is more important than lead generation. Because here's the thing, here's my philosophy, okay, is I know people, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but I've been on over 30,000 one-on-one coaching calls with agents from all over the country. So I've seen it all, from the lows to the highs and everything else in between. I have people that come to me and they have very good lead sources that are really working for them. And, the leads are coming in every single day. But when we take a look at the reality of their business and they're only closing very few deals here and there, then, we really don't have a lead generation problem. We got a lead conversion problem. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
When you get very good at lead conversion, guess what happens? You become a rock star at lead generation because you have so much more confidence. Prospecting becomes something that you want to do, not something that you want to run away from. Okay?
Yeah, it's kind of the chicken or the egg thing, right? Because you can't convert a lead you don't have, right? So, but if you're getting leads that you can't convert, that's no good either. So I think they're both equally important. But the cool thing about Mike, and I'm not coaching with Mike right now. I needed a break, to be honest. But so I'm not a salesperson for Mike, but I really do think that the cool thing about Mike and a lot of coaches like Mike is that you do learn both. You learn how to go find the leads and then how to also close the leads. But what you won't learn from Mike that you might learn from Tom, because I just went to a summit, is you're going to learn how to brand yourself and market yourself. And I think that's in some ways almost just as important, almost just as important. If you could only do one, I'd say probably just prospect. But if you can do both, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. No, you're speaking the right language. That's exactly the model, is that, for some of us that have the luxury of being able to invest in our business right away, I say do both right away. For the people that don't, I say, look, go get the deals that you need to get, and then take a little portion of the money, put it on the side, and save up for the branding and the marketing and everything else to continue, to expand your business. James, I'm talking to you, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy looks like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got great energy. He's more on the positive side than anything else, and he's got to be very disciplined in the way that he operates his business. Can you talk to us about, number one, how to either expand your thinking and or correct your thinking, and number two, what are the 3, 4, 5 things that are non-negotiable for you that you do every single day, no matter what, to continue to grow your brand and your business?
Yeah, it's as far as changing or expanding your mindset, I think there's never been a better time to do that. You know, we live, or it seems we lived. I don't know if things are changing now, but we are in an area where the world celebrates free thinkers for the most part, right? So, you know, I think that reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, the right type of content that will help you expand what's possible, you know. And then second to that, or maybe even more important, that is being around people that are like you, that have the same goals or have already achieved what you're trying to achieve. Because it's one thing to watch a YouTube video or read a book or listen to a podcast, but when you physically see someone around you that is accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and you get to know that person, you'll find out most of the time that they're just an average person deep down. They just have some self-discipline, or they have taken steps to train their mind a certain way, or they have taken steps to educate themselves with the sales process. So I think those things, books, podcasts, surrounding yourself with the right people, will definitely work on getting this turning and expanding.
Can you recommend just one book? Just one book. Can you recommend just one book for the audience?
Oh my gosh. I hate to say it's what everyone says, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, it's such a great book that really changed the way I looked at communication.
That's one great book. I've recommended that one a million times, and there's some people that need to hear that recommendation from more than one person before they buy into it.
The 4 Agreements as well is another really good one that it took me too long to get to it. I heard about it over and over, and I just recently got to it, and I'm glad I did. And that's even a short read. So that kind of segues good. The 4 Agreements will segue good into your other question, which was the non-negotiables, right? Yeah. And you know, I will be upfront and honest with your audience. I used to be the guy, the 5 a.m. run, jog, affirmations. I personally burned out on that. So for me, have a COVID switched my mindset on my routine, and where I thought there was no way to do the same amount of business without having that same routine, I found out for myself that was not true. So now I take more time in the morning with my family. I switch my workouts to the evening. I've completely flip-flopped my schedule, and I'm doing fine. You know, my business has not hurt. In fact, in some ways it's given me more time. So, but the non-negotiable part, you can flip-flop your schedule, but the things that I must do, I still must reach out to people every day to see if they're looking to buy or sell. So whether that means I'm cold calling, door knocking, or I'm just going through my list of leads, I'm always reaching out and doing something every day to talk to someone about real estate. And number 2 is I'm always putting some sort of marketing material out through social media, video, picture, something to where I'm getting in front of someone every day. Even if it doesn't have to do with real estate, I want them to see me every day because they already know who I am and what I do. But if you're not in front of them every day, they'll forget about you. Yes. Everyone knows what Coca-Cola is. Oh, what's Coca-Cola? It's a drink. Okay. If you already know what it is, why are they still put it in front of you? Because they don't want you to forget about it. You already know what it is, but they don't want you to forget. So don't just assume that people know I'm an agent, you know, they'll call me. No, you have to keep putting it out there. Put yourself out there as a brand every single day.
Perfect. So you put down a couple. I'm gonna go back on a couple of things.
Yes.
One, we already recommended the book. Talked about the podcast. Exposure is very big. Who are you exposing yourself to? And preferably, my advice to everyone that's watching this is you got a lot of exposure online, but there's nothing like the exposure in being in the same room with these big thinkers, etc. So I recommend that you attend a seminar at least once a year more if you could. And it doesn't matter whose seminar. I think they're all equally great. Just find the one that resonates more with the way that you want to operate your business and go there. Your non-negotiables is you speak to people every single day, meaning you're not waiting for the business to come to you. You're proactively and you're seeking out the people that you could serve and make a difference for and help out. And number two, you brought up something so meaningful and so important that I want to highlight a little bit more. It's not our client's job to remember us. It's our job to make sure that they never forget us. And for you, you've taken the form of like, where do my audience hang out more often than any other place? And that is on their Facebook, that is on their Instagram, their social media. And as long as you're putting something out there every single day, it's just a reminder. He's there. He's still selling real estate. Oh, look, his girls are growing a little bit older. He's become a great family man, etc. Like these are all messages that are working for you, whether you're aware of it or not. And just because somebody doesn't click the like button or they don't comment, it doesn't necessarily mean that that message hasn't been delivered to the prospect. James, this has been freaking damn awesome. And I got one final question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What is one question that I should have asked you today that I did not ask you that you would like to answer?
When I used to listen to real estate podcasts, I would always want some actionable advice. And so I think maybe asking me what types of tools or systems I use. And I'm going to give someone something that I can't recommend enough. I'm not a big CRM guy. I've never really had even an official CRM. I always tell people my phone is my CRM. Now, maybe that's not good. Maybe I should have a better system in place there. But what I have been using and my plan and what I've been growing lately is a thing called Homebot. And Homebot is a tool that will send your clients, specifically homeowners, a branded market analysis for their property every single month from you. So it looks like it's coming from you. And it's not only going to give them kind of what their home's worth, but it's also going to give them the current interest rates, what their home would rent for, their equity. It's going to give them all these analytics. So I've been putting every time I sell someone a home or every friend I have or if I can get my friend's address and email, I'm putting them in there. And what that's doing is you see all the people that check their value of their home. I think I've got maybe 300 people in there now. My goal is to have 10,000 people in there. I want everyone around me in Homebot because they're not going to get recipes from me. It's not going to be junk. It's not going to be, don't forget to turn your clock back. It's going to be something they want, which is, this is what your home is worth. And it only sends it once or maybe once every other month. It's not a lot. It's just enough to where they get something of value from me, every once in a while. And then maybe every once in a while, the cool thing is it allows you to send a video to everyone. So every once in a while, maybe once a quarter, I'll send a market update video just to give a broad view of this is what's going on. So that would be my one tip is go get Homebot. It's cheap. I think if you do a brand with your lender, which is a great tool for lenders because it tells the rates. So if it's a refi machine. I get people doing more refis than listing, but I do get listings out of it because they will say, hey, I saw my home is worth this much. I'm thinking about moving, and boom, there you go. So you have to build it up, but it's better than any other CRM or anything I've seen. And you can put buyers in there too. If you have buyer leads, you can throw them in there and it sends them something else. But specifically, everyone wants listings. Throw it in there. You can take the link and put it on. Say, hey, friends and family, I got a great tool for you. You can put it on Facebook and they can put their own address and email. You do that every once in a while, you'll get a couple more people. And before you know it, you got 500 people in there and you're getting a couple listings every month just from that.
I love it. Well, you heard it here first. Homebot is definitely a tool that you need to check out. I'm definitely going to check it out. I personally, Amanda knows just about every software and every single tool that exists in real estate. I haven't heard of Homebot, so I'm going to check that one out myself. So I appreciate it.
I don't know why it's not more popular. I think it's homebot.app. I think but if you type in Homebot real estate, you'll find it on Google. And again, I'm not affiliated with them or nothing. It's just a product that the first kind of CRM where I thought it's so simple, even I could use it because I'm not a tech guy. So it's like you put one person at a time. You got a buyer, you just closed escrow. I put them in there, have my assistant put them in there. You have your grandma, your grandma's friend. You say, hey, I'd love to send you this. And another thing, real quick, I know you want to get going.
No, keep going, bro. Keep going.
I got some gold for you. I circle prospect. So anyone that circle prospect, this is my line. You get someone on the phone. Hey, we just sold a home around the neighborhood. When are you making your next move? Okay, you're not moving until 2021 or 2022 when you retire. Perfect. What I'm going to do is I have a program that I personally pay for. That's the key. You got to tell them I pay for it. It's going to send you an update on what your home is worth. Once a month, sometimes maybe every other month. I'm not going to spam you, but you're really going to love it. What's the best email to send it to? And you just wait. And then 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you the email. You don't say, hey, can I have your email? You say, what's the best email to send it to? You just assume they're going to give you the email. 9 times out of 10, johnsmith@gmail.com. Perfect, John. I'm going to give you an update every couple months until you retire, and then we're going to get together from there. Sound good? Cool. That way you don't have to try to remember about him moving in a year because let's face it, you're never going to remember anyways. You throw him in there and now you have him in there. Maybe you put a reminder to call him in a year, but he's going to get something from you every day. So I get people from my community into this Homebot from circle prospecting.
I love it.
Best thing ever.
I love it. You're on a roll, man. What else you got?
I would say this too, when it comes to social media, I think it's agents hear social media and they think, well, I got to post every closing and this and that. 100% real estate. That's the worst thing you could do. For a real estate agent, I say you want to go about 60-40, your life, your interests, your hobbies, your family, and maybe 40% real estate, because most people don't give a shit about real estate until it comes time to buy or sell.
Right.
So if you're hitting people over the head every day with dumb facts about real estate, they're going to tune you out or they're going to unfollow you because they say, this guy is annoying. This is all he talks about. There's nothing interesting about him. But if you can sprinkle in other things that people actually might be interested in, this new restaurant I went to, this new clothing store just opened up. I love toy poodles. This is my thing. I'm a poodle person. Whatever that is, if that's kind of 60% of your gig, and then you sprinkle in real estate just to remind them, you're still getting in front of them every day, but without beating them over the head with the same thing every day. So that would be my tip for social media. Don't just go all real estate because people tune it out.
Right. I love it. This is awesome. James, there's people out there that are saying, man, I love this guy's energy. I love everything about him. I want to connect with this guy. Or maybe they want to send you a referral. How can people reach out to you and connect with you?
I love it. Easiest way is at James_Shelby. If you search James Shelby on Instagram, you'll probably find me, but James_Shelby. That's probably the simplest, easiest way to find me. Facebook's a little more hard, but James Shelby, Temecula, California, that's the best way. Shoot me a DM. Every time I do podcasts, I always get a couple people reaching out, and I'm always here to answer questions. If someone has a question, just hit me up.
I love it. And we will make sure that we will link we'll link to your website and everything else for people to reach out to you. So if anyone
link up Homebot too, because I'm sure people don't want to check that out.
Yeah, we'll definitely go ahead and link that one in the show notes. And for those that are just driving around right now listening to this, you want to go grab the show notes a little bit later on, you can simply go to chadibazzi.tv or tlashow.com. James, this has been great. Thank you very much, my brother. I appreciate it.
Daddy, you're the man. Thank you for providing this for people. It's important.
Of course, man. Anything. This podcast is not about us. It's not about me, and it's not about you. It's about the audience. Like you said earlier, you listen to podcasts, and as long as you're applying what you're hearing and what you're learning, it can definitely impact your business in a positive way. So I appreciate you making yourself available for us today, brother. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks, Chadi.